Hey guys, meat is obviously king on carnivore, but sometimes that sweet tooth kicks in and you want to make some dessert. For those times, I like to prepare a simple, very easy to make 3-ingredient homemade carnivore cheesecake. You don't need no flour, no crust, it's just cream cheese, heavy cream and a couple of eggs. In fact, recipe is so easy, we can make it right now. So first we're gonna start off by getting a large bowl, like a mixing bowl. We got a scale over here, so we can weigh our ingredients, but if you're in a pinch, you could even eyeball it. So I start the recipe by preparing the 3 eggs in the bowl, so let me just crack those. And I like to use room temperature eggs if it's possible. I found they are easier to mix that way. Now obviously you could go with a mixer, but I'm gonna go with hand just to get some workout in. You wanna beat the eggs until like smooth consistency. Now for the next step is basically adding the cream cheese. So over here we have 200 grams of cream cheese. As I said, you don't need to follow exactly the scale, so even if you put a bit more or a bit less, should not make too much of a difference. But essentially I will put 2 blocks of cheese. I'm gonna go ahead with the rubber spatula, that way I can make sure that we don't waste any cheese or any ingredients. And this particular cream cheese I have some experience with. It's a bit it doesn't really have salt added to it, but it is quite savory per taste, so I'm not adding any salt to this recipe, but you could go ahead and add some if you wanted to. I'll just mix the first block in and then follow up with the second. I'll try not to make a mess here. It's really refreshing so that I can again get my hands on some dairy products. I haven't really been eating dairy for past month. For those who are following the channel regularly, probably know that I did the 30 days on no dairy challenge on a carnivore diet. You see, quite easy to mix, not really too difficult. I'm just gonna go the same with the second block of cheese. And as I said, this is 400 grams of cream cheese. But if you find that 2 blocks for you means like 350, like depending on your packaging, just go with 350. Don't buy 3 blocks just to use 2 and then a tiny bit. We don't need to be as strict here for this type of baking. Unless you're gonna finish off the cream cheese anyway, then it's no big deal, I guess. But I just hate when people give recipes that are not really as easily scalable. And if you wanted to go like with a cottage cheese or a mix of cream cheese and cottage cheese, that's possible also. I've done it that way before. Just make sure that you adjust for consistency, that it doesn't come out too dry. So if you see that your cottage cheese is on a drier side, make sure that you are adding a bit of extra whipping cream. And speaking of whipping cream, that's what we are adding now. Of course, all of these products are full fat, so we have a full fat cheese and full fat whipping cream. This one is even 36% fat, which is the highest that we can get around here. My wife says it makes a huge difference whether it's 30, 33 or 36. So I already put some of the heavy cream in and I forgot to weigh it. I think it was about 100 ml already, but let's add extra 100 ml. Should be about it. So about half of it. So this is 500 grams, so half a liter. So I'm adding about half of it. Give it a mix. At this point everything is very liquidy, so it's not really much of a mixing we need to do. I know it looks very runny right now, but as we bake it, it should be nice and settled, but we'll get to that in a second. I like to add some acid to my cheesecake. So ideally that would be lemon, but I forgot to buy it. So what I'm gonna add now is just a tiny bit of sour cream. This much, so that's a spoonful, just 20 something grams. So normal tablespoon of sour cream, just to bring that kick to it, a bit of tanginess. What we can then also do, this is highly optional. I know I said it's 3 ingredients, but you could add some vanilla, and you could add either a vanilla paste, which we have over here. You could add like a vanilla sugar. This is the least carnivore option, so it's like 12 grams of sugar here. Or you could use a vanilla stroke, which is what I'm gonna use today. Take the knife and you cut down the vanilla stroke, and then you're gonna try to extract, basically getting all of that goodness that it's inside out. Just with the back of the knife you can get this out easily. I'll just add it in. Let's not be wasteful and add all of it. I know it doesn't look much, so just basically two of these, but you will be able to taste it quite nicely in the end product. So yeah, one final mix, and then we are ready to set up the baking dish. So as for the baking dish, I have 2 options. Either I'm gonna go with this round one, which is something what I haven't tested for this recipe yet. Last time I made it always was in this ceramic. I want to try with the round one today, so let's have this one ready. We're gonna lay some parchment paper to prevent sticking. You could try to fit a perfect circle here in the pan or in the baking dish, but actually what I prefer to do is just crumble it and then uncrumble it, and then it's gonna fit the dish much easier, and then I just cut away the excess if needed. I just want to line it up as nicely as possible, but you don't need to be super fancy about it either. And I won't even bother cutting it off the excess. Just gonna leave it like this, pour everything in, and we can get baking. Let's make sure that we are getting every drop so that we are not wasteful. It's super satisfying to have this spatula. I'm not the biggest fan of having plastic and silicone in the kitchen, but spatula is really one of those things that it's so satisfying, and it just makes sense, I would say. So this is where I make exception. I know it looks very liquidy right now, but as it's gonna bake, it's gonna first start to rise a bit, then it's gonna come down, and at that point cheesecake is ready. So I reckon this will take about 20 to 25 minutes, but we need to basically keep an eye on it. Every oven is different, also every recipe or every ingredient is going to influence it a bit, so around 22 minutes I would say it's a good starting point. I could have preheated the oven already beforehand, that would make sense, but I didn't want the ventilation to disturb the video, so I'm just gonna do that now, and then we pop it in the oven. So in the oven it goes for about 20 minutes, as I said, set at about 200 degrees C. I'm gonna use ventilation. If you don't have that, you can crank up the temperature a bit more. I would say 220 then. So yeah, overall very easy recipe, very clean. If you can include the dairy in your diet, it's a good dessert to kill any sort of cravings. At least it makes my carnivore life a bit easier. So let's put it in the oven and see you when it's done. It's always smart to put it on an extra tray so you don't stain the oven in case something happens. Don't ask me how I found out. As it finishes baking, you can go outside and enjoy some nice weather and some nice cup of coffee. As the cake finishes baking, we will take it from the oven, put it on a kitchen counter and let it rest for a bit. Once the cake cools down, you could either eat it immediately, but I would recommend to put it in the fridge for at least 6 hours, 8 hours, ideally overnight. I find it tastes the best the next day. But even eating it still warm should be plenty good. So cheesecake was in the oven for exactly 25 minutes. What I ended up with is, you can see there's a bit of a charred spot, but this way it more closely resembles the charred cheesecake. Overall it's still pretty soft, so it still needs to set a bit, but it's been cooling now for a few minutes already. I can easily hold it in hand. So I will pop this into the fridge now for a couple of hours and probably taste it only tomorrow. As my oven was already up to the temperature, we figured let's put in the chicken also, so we have already now dinner prepared. It's just out of the oven, so it's still a bit hot, so super good. I like to eat chicken occasionally as well on a carnivore. Nice and crispy. Alright guys, thanks for watching and supporting the channel. Let me know if you will make the recipe and how did you like it. Check out the other content if you're interested on my carnivore journey, and see you in the next one. Meat, weights and a calm mind. And cheesecake sometimes. See you.